All right, so there's looks like a pretty good lineup of fights coming up. So I'm gonna do as many of these as I can for these next fights that are coming up. Some of them are pretty interesting to me. I got a couple of things to say about this Dubois versus Usyk one. This won't be as technical of a breakdown, but I do have some opinionated things on this one. First of all, I don't really like the fight. Not from a fan standpoint. From a fan standpoint, it's a great fight. I think Usyk does all the right things, and I'm sure I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from certain people for saying this, but in my opinion, Usyk should probably just retire. The reason I say that is I believe Usyk was undisputed at cruiserweight, then moved up to heavyweight, beat Tyson Fury, who nobody could beat him twice, beat Joshua twice, already beat Daniel Dubois. I know some people say it was questionable. I'll get into that in a second. And then you have there's like two younger guys now that are starting to make some noise, but they're not quite at that level yet where people are really going to be calling for an Usyk fight. But I think if Usyk keeps fighting, by the time those other two guys get to that point where people are calling for the Usyk fight, I feel like it's one of those situations now where we're just waiting for Usyk to get old. Like, we're not really questioning, like, who's better or who's more accomplished. We're kind of banking on, hey, you know what? Usyk's been doing this and beating everybody for a long time. Like, this has to end at some point. He's in his late 30s. These guys are in their mid-20s and looking like beasts or whatever. And I just don't like seeing that happen. I like seeing guys walk away from the sport rather than the sport retiring them. I mean, this is an unforgiving sport. You could have one fight. You could get hit with one shot, and it could fucking change your entire life forever. I just think at this point, Usyk is so fucking accomplished as a boxer, as a fighter in general. Like, I just don't feel like there's really any question marks there for Usyk. The only question mark is, like I said, how long can he do this? Can he keep beating these young, undefeated, up-and-coming lions, and eventually on a long enough timeline that ends, right? Like, even the two dudes that I'm talking about, I apologize because I can't think of their names off the top of my head. I was just watching a video on both of them yesterday, too, so shame on me. But even if, let's just say 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, goes by, and these dudes put themselves in a position where they're, going for a heavyweight title or unifying or even undisputed for that matter or whatever, right? And let's say Usyk beats them, which that's a whole entire different conversation, but I'm just being hypothetical here. Let's say 2 years goes by and Usyk winds up fighting these guys and beats them, right? If this continues to happen, and I used to say this about Mayweather too, you keep fighting, bro, you'll lose. Trust me. I don't care if it's in your fucking 10th fight, your 100th fight. I don't care if you're 30 years old, 40 years old, or 50 years old. On a long enough timeline, keep fighting, and I promise you will lose. And if it takes long enough, you'll probably wind up getting your first loss to somebody who's nowhere near being better than you, will never be more accomplished than you, but, you're 47 years old, and they're 27 years old, and they're bigger and stronger and younger and whatever, right? And I just don't like that. To me, you're younger. You're not better, right? So I know you're younger. Usyk doesn't have to fight a 24-year-old for me to know the 24-year-old's younger. I already know that right now. I'm disinterested in that. So, listen, this is not a knock against Usyk at all. This is great that Usyk's taking the fight. It's great for the sport, stuff like that. It's a great fight. Usyk doesn't seem to be worried about anybody, which I can understand why. The thing about this is, like, even if he didn't fight Dubois yet, it would still be risky for me because it's the same scenario we're talking about before, right? You got a guy in his mid to late 30s versus an up-and-coming guy that we expect to be one of the next big things. That alone is a risk in itself. You already did that. You already took that risk. You already fought this guy. You already beat this guy. So again, am I saying this is a pointless fight? I'm not saying that at all. This is a great fight. But I like Usyk. and I like what Usyk has accomplished, and I don't think Usyk has much left to accomplish, right? Heavyweight, he's not going to go to super heavyweight. So it's like, when you start at that high of a weight, right, like Pacquiao, 8-division champion. Usyk can't be an 8-division champion. He's not going to go down 5 weight classes, right? So he doesn't have that opportunity. So I feel like he's already done as much as he can. He's one of the most decorated fighters in history, especially at that weight class. And he's already beat this younger guy. So I'm kind of like, I don't want to see it happen just because I'm an Usyk fan. But as a fan of the sport, as a fight fan, obviously I love the fight. As far as the first fight went, here's the thing with the low blow, right? And I'm gonna just be real with you. Did Dubois punch Usyk in the balls? Nah, he didn't. Okay? Was it a legal shot? Nah, not really. So you're kind of caught in this no man's land, right? So the reason we have the low blow rule, obviously, same reason you can't kick a guy in the fucking face in MMA or whatever when he's on the floor. I shouldn't say you can't kick a guy in the face when he's on the floor. It's shit like that. You're looking at specific things that cause horrific injuries, and we're saying, okay, we're not going to do that, right? We're not going to punch anybody in the nuts. We're not going to bite anybody. We're not going to gouge anybody's eyes out. Shit like that, right? But you can't see the guy's balls. So you can't just say you can't punch a guy in the balls. Somebody hits it below his belt line, and the guy that gets hit says, oh, it hits me in my nuts. You don't know. You don't know. And they're wearing a cup, right? So sometimes you could get clipped at this point like this, right? So let's say that the trunks are like this and you get clipped right here. My shit is all the way down here, bro. So that's not touching me, but I got a cup on. And if this hits me on an angle and pulls my cup up, that might smash me down there, right? So I'm not saying that just because the glove didn't hit the dude in the nuts that he didn't get hurt from it, right? But I'm saying it wasn't a nut shot. It wasn't a straight shot right to the balls. But we don't know what kind of pain or discomfort that caused Usyk. So you have to draw a line somewhere, right? They say, okay, we're going to go by like the mid to the bottom of the trunks. Now, if a guy's got his fucking trunks all the way up to his nipples, maybe I go to the bottom of the trunks and I say, hey, this is still good. Your trunks are a little high, right? We're kind of aiming for like a little below that belly button range. But again, some guys have their trunks over their belly button. You can't see their belly button. So again, there's this kind of gray area, and you have to kind of make it black and white to a certain extent, right? So, wow, people keep calling me and going crazy right now. You turn around and you say, hey, here is good, here and up is good, here and below is not. So the thing is, even if it doesn't hit the guy in the balls, bro, if it's below that line, they have to call it an illegal shot. They have to give the guy his 5 minutes to recover, yada, yada. So, listen, again, man, to me, reaching for that is like reaching for, the Mayweather loss in the first Castillo fight. I've scored that fight 3 separate times. Never once have I scored that fight for Castillo. The best you could really come up with is a draw. I don't really know why people always say that he won that fight. Very close fight, I agree. Don't think Castillo won the fight. But the point of me saying this is, does it really matter? Does it really matter? Do we want to see somebody lose just on a silly technicality, or do we want to see someone that's actually better, or had a better game plan, or had, better strategy, or executed better on that night, or whatever the case is, right? We don't want to see somebody that would wipe the floor with somebody, but they lost by 1 point on a split decision because their shoulder was hurt. And then you're going to go celebrate that? Listen, close fight. I thought Mayweather won. He said his shoulder was hurt. He won anyway. Gave the guy an immediate rematch, said his shoulder felt good, and won on a more one-sided fight. So, I don't know. To me, right, does anyone really go, well, Castillo's better than Mayweather? We don't really think that, right? We're just reaching for a loss because the guy's 50-0, and we want to say, oh, he fucking lost to this guy in this fight. Nah, not really. It was just really close. And even if he did lose, he had a hurt shoulder, and he wiped the floor with the guy in a rematch. So, I don't know. It's kind of the same thing with the Usyk shit where it's like, oh, no, he didn't fucking hit him in the nuts. No, but it was still kind of low, right? And, do we really even want that? Wouldn't you rather somebody just beat Usyk and just, either knock him out or win 8-4 on the cards, have a fight with his fight, and you're like, yo, Usyk lost that fight. Wouldn't, and I love Usyk, so I don't want to see that happen. But I'm saying, if you want the guy to lose, wouldn't you rather it be in that fashion? Do we want this controversial, debatable fucking thing, especially in a fight where it wound up going to the other guy, and it's like, oh, but come on, like. So I don't know, man. I get why the rematch is happening. It's a great fight for the sport, but as a fan of Usyk and all that he's accomplished, I don't really want to see it happen. That being said, I still think Usyk wins this fight. Again, there's gonna always be every fight that Usyk has from this point out. I don't care if it's 1 or 2 more fights. I don't care if it's 5 or 10 more fights. And I don't care if we never see any signs of this progression. It is what it is. Father Time is undefeated, not to throw a cliche statement out there, but again, it just is what it is. So every fight that Usyk has from this point on is that risk, right? Where it's like, well, I think Usyk's better than this guy, and I think he's going to win. But what if Usyk just gets old overnight and he just shows up, he gets in that ring, and he just doesn't look like himself anymore? At this age, at this point in your career and stuff like that, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it can happen in any fight at any point, and we don't really know when that will be, if and when that will be, I should say. So for me, I don't really know that this does much for Usyk's legacy and Usyk's resume and stuff like that. Like I said, he's already got a win over this guy. So I kind of would like to see Usyk just sail off into the sunset as a fan of Usyk, but again, as a fan of the sport, great fight. I'm obviously going to watch it. But I got Usyk by decision in this one, man. Peace.